I am Neil Arthos. I am the next Abdullah. You are the next Neville Goddard. Your SP gets wet every single time they think of you, and your bank account makes Jeff Bezos look homeless. What the gods do when they're blocked on all platforms, okay? Look, guys, we need to stop making such a big deal about the circumstances. It does not matter if you haven't talked to your ex in 20 years. It doesn't matter if she said, it's over, I hate you, I never want to see you again. Okay? It does not matter if she's dead. Okay? When you understand that you are God, that you are source, that you are not the mind, that you are not the body, that you're just the observer of that mind and of that body, then you realize that all of this shit that people told you was reality is false. Okay? Anything that you perceive, it's your decision if you want to make it true. Okay? It does not matter if you are getting decapitated at this moment. If you are an eternal being living, and by the way, I know that being decapitated, fucking sucks, okay? But that is the point. We give in too much to the senses, okay? Again, if you were getting, attacked by a serial killer, okay, before I get demonetized, how many times am I going to talk about death in this video? But obviously, that's pain that you are feeling in your senses. But again, those are the senses of the body that you were given in this human experience. Yes, you will feel it. Yes, that will be pain, but you are an eternal being. Even when you die after that serial killer kidnaps you, okay? God forbid. But even when you die, you still live on forever. And I'm not talking about some heaven and hell bullshit. No, okay? If you guys haven't heard already, the Bible is just metaphysically, it's not what it seems, okay? But that's another video for another time, okay? But Christ is our imagination. The Father is the subconscious, the awareness, you are God, okay? And I know I'm giving you a whole bunch of shit, but this video is titled What the Gods Would Do, and this is not what a male should do when he's blocked on all platforms. This is not the female way to handle when your boyfriend blocks you on all platforms or your crush. This is not even the human way. This is the way that you've never heard before. You got to understand that it does not matter how long it's been since you've talked to your ex, or it does not matter if you feel like you were way too clingy and all hope is lost. How many times have we heard of success stories, whether it was through a manifestation success story or whether it was from a get your ex back in 30 days success story, okay? We have heard it countless times, okay? From the most horrible of circumstances, okay? I remember when I used to be in that red pill, get your ex back community. I bought all the courses, okay? I've been practically, shuffling. I went through a whole decade of just shuffling through masculine coaches and red pill coaches, trying to get their take. And even though I had a lot of value after, buying their products, this whole thing that they spoke about their content like if it was Bible, that thou shalt listen to my commandments, and if you don't, you will never get your ex back. Don't listen to this guy over here, because if you listen to him, you're not going to get what you want. Meanwhile, you go to that guy and he's telling you that the guy that you were just, hearing from was a false prophet. And you realize there's a pattern going on and you're like, wait a second, what the fuck? Who should I fucking trust? And you end up realizing that all they want is to sell their product. And yeah, there is some value to go on from those products. But when you give your whole life and dedicate it to a guy who created a course just based off of his past relationship traumas, it's like when you have a parent who raised a child and told you, you shall only do it the way that I know is right. Okay? Trust me, my child. You have to listen to me. And then you grow up and realize that your mother was just training you to avoid the mistakes that caused her pain. You can take value from everybody's mistakes, but ultimately the one who's going to know is you. And it's not just because it's your experience, but because the only one who is in charge ultimately of your reality is you. Because the whole reason why you were blocked on all platforms is because one time you had an assumption that you were not good enough, and it had to be reflected. That is ultimately why this video is not about how to get your ex back or how to re-attract someone the way that the red pill tells you to. They don't tell you that it was your fault that you were blocked in the first place. Okay, well, they do tell you that, but they tell you that it was because you were being too needy. They tell you that it was because you didn't, follow Rule 5 in Chapter 8 of their #1 New York Times bestseller. I'm telling you that you can sit on your ass right now and not do a fucking thing, not lift a fucking finger. And if you imagine in first-person perspective and make a 5-second clip in your imagination that whoever it is that has blocked you on all platforms is grabbing your chin and pulling it in, kissing you and saying, I can't wait to see you next week or Friday or whenever it is that you're off next. Clearly, if she's grabbing your chin and kissing you and saying that she can't wait to see you, you're probably not blocked on all platforms, because she needs to fucking get a hold of you to know where it is that you're going to pick her up, right? And vice versa. I mean, if you're a woman listening to this, obviously switch the rules. That's all you have to do, because the whole reason why you were blocked on all platforms is not necessarily, yes, needy behavior does push away people, but what caused you to have that needy behavior in the first place? It was when one day when you were eating chips and salsa at the fucking Taco Cabana and you were looking and waiting to see whenever she was going to text you back when she didn't have you blocked, back when you guys were in the honeymoon phase and things were going okay, you had this one thought that creeped in like a little devil on your shoulder that said, what if she finds out how weird you are? What if when you open up to her, she dumps you just like the other girls? You guys don't realize how dangerous that is. And I don't want this to be me telling you that you should be extremely afraid of your thoughts, but you should be extremely afraid of the thoughts that you allow to go unchecked. Because a lot of people think that whenever you have a thought, like maybe you are doing real good and you understand how the law works, you understand how law of assumption works, you read all the Neville Goddard books, but one day you say, what if a serial killer kills me in a dark alley? Oh, fuck, no, it's too late. And then, you fucking get stabbed to death 2 minutes later. And that's not the way it works. But because when you were doing all those needy things, and because you didn't understand the law in the honeymoon phase, and you were eating your chips and salsa at Taco Cabana, you were entertaining these thoughts. That's why in the scriptures it says to guard your thoughts like a fucking, like literally like a guard. I think it says there's a verse that says, I think it's in Thessalonians, that say hold every thought captive and make sure that they are unto the Lord Jesus Christ. And if the Lord Jesus Christ is the metaphysical representation of your imagination, make sure that they are in line with your imaginal act. Now, obviously, you didn't have any imaginal act before you knew the law, before you were letting all these thoughts go unchecked when you were eating your chips and salsa at Taco Cabana. So there you are eating your chips and salsa, and it feels so good to be refreshing yourselves with that appetizer while you're waiting for your fajitas. And you're just enjoying the thoughts of like, what if? Oh, well, I can't wait to see if I can do all these stupid needy things and still maybe she will finally be the one, right? It's not the needy double texting that pushes your ex away. It is the identity that you are being when you are doing those needy things. Because I made a video a little while back that is called, I think it's Red Pill is Gay, Be God Instead. And I talk a lot about that, where in my experience, I have done the needy things that, you know, all these masculinity coaches tell you that if you do it once, she's going to cheat on you. If you do it 50 times, she's going to think that you're feminine, and the more you get into your feminine, the more. Look, the fact is every girl is different. Okay? Right? And I don't want to be that cliche guy that tells you to be yourself, but in reality, women like it better when you are authentic, whether you are authentically needy or whether you are authentically masculine. Okay? I've had situations where, because I was trying to listen to a masculinity coach, to a red pill content creator, that I ended up getting dumped. And I later found out that it wasn't because I wasn't being mysterious enough, and it wasn't because I didn't have the cool leather jacket and I had the best posture, or I wasn't acting alpha enough. No, it was because I didn't tell her that I loved you enough. It was because she told me later on, I didn't even think that you cared about me. I thought that you were just a player. You see, you can't be something that you're not, okay? Now, if you really want to be an alpha player and mysterious, you can shift into that state. But if there is a part of you that looks robotic when doing it, you're not shifting to that state. You are being the state of the one who is trying hard to be something that you're not. So therefore, you are not shifting to the state of alpha, you're shifting to the state of the try hard. And women can see right through that. It's better for you to just fucking make it easier on yourself and say, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, whatever the fuck feels natural, and I'm going to already have an imaginal act ready to go whenever I get into a relationship with someone that everything is working out and she's constantly grabbing my chin, kissing me, saying, I can't wait to fucking see you. Okay? I'm with the girl right now. And this is the first time that I've had an experience with a woman where I'm actually thinking seriously of getting into a committed relationship. I have been just dating and not looking for anything serious, but it came out of nowhere, right? And I kept doing imaginal acts where I would see an SP, not necessarily anyone in particular, but just an SP saying, I can't wait to see you. Just like the imaginal act that I told you right now of grabbing the chin and telling you, I can't wait to see you next time. That's the reason why I gave that one to you, because it was an example that worked for me. And that's literally what she tells me every single time. And when I started seeing her, I didn't go into it with the expectation that anything was going to happen. But because I was doing so much of these imaginal acts in the laboratory, not even necessarily hoping that it works with her, I was detached and I was putting it into my subconscious. Whatever you put in your subconscious, with the power of detachment, of not giving a fuck whether it goes your way or not, that is ultimately the most quickest imaginal acts that end up manifesting. Not the ones that you keep saying, oh, I hope this fucking works, I really, really like this girl. When you are talking that way of, I really, really like this girl, I hope this works, you already just admitted to yourself that it's not going to work. Because one who already knew that it was going to work would not hope, he knows. You got to go into it with just having faith that that's the way the law works. The imaginal acts will work because, like I said, the whole reason why you were blocked on all platforms is because when you were eating the chips and salsa at Taco Cabana, you said, what if she dumps me like all the other girls? Now, 90% of you guys Although some of you guys are that negative and you will have an imaginal act and you'll think like literally, oh my gosh, what would it look like if she was telling me I'm such a loser and I'm such a weirdo and she's laughing at me in front of all my friends. I used to be that guy where I had such low self-esteem that I would not only say the what ifs, but I would actually imagine what it would feel like. Because before I dug deep into my childhood trauma, and that's another video for another day, but I didn't realize I loved to be pitied. I had, issues growing up with my father who didn't show me enough affection. And I'm not trying to have a pity party here, guys, but I'm just telling you guys for my story. But I realized that there was a part of me that loved to be pitied, right? I loved it. And I would be imagining constantly that whenever I was in a relationship, the person of my dreams was doing the worst case scenario. Don't do that. Simply, whenever you get into a relationship, imagine that you are having your chin grabbed by her and she says, I can't wait to see you. Okay? I'm going to make a part 2 for this, but I got to go because my girl's here to see me. I love you guys. Peace out.